It is the best show in town. It is the best LGBTQIA show. So darling, why haven't you subscribed? Monday to Thursday, bringing you breaking news Wahala. On Friday, sex, education. And Saturday, burning questions. You know, all those questions you've been thinking of asking. Saturday is the day for you, darling. Ask your questions about religion, your questions about what you want to know about us, your question about anything. You can access anything on Saturdays doing burning questions. And you know one thing, you could be the lucky winner to win our giveaways on Saturdays. And on Sundays, to crown it all, we have the market woman and shade price. So darling, why do you want to miss out on all these interesting things? Help this channel by clicking the subscribe button.
It's the biggest LGBTQI show in the entire planet. And when you know that we grace your screen, we bring it back hot news, hot content, hot LGBTQI talk shows, only on your #1 YouTube channel. Well, we always say we're not just a YouTube channel, but we are content creators creating news for you back to back. I am your host, Marvelous Achafu Kelechi, and I'm always joined by Chimerezi Henry Awunaya in our Toronto studios in Canada. Welcome, Chimerezi. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. Good morning, Mr. Chefo. How are you doing?
I am very, very well and fantastic. Now, today we begin this episode on a rather sad note to the fact that transgender communities are being killed massively in droves. Now, let's begin. It marks the first killing of a transgender in US known as Amarey Lej, 21 years, in the USA. She was killed in Pittsburgh, USA, and she marks the first person to be killed in the year 2022 in USA.
Released in Wilkinsburg tonight in memory of a transgender woman who was killed on New Year's Day. Police found Amarey Lej's body near Wood and Susquehanna Streets on Saturday. Friends and family say Lee recently made the decision to transition and embrace who she always had known herself to be. Police are still searching for the killer.
A family and an entire community are mourning the loss of their loved one and hoping for answers.
On New Year's morning, police found Amarey Lej shot to death in Wilkinsburg. Brianna Smith spoke with her cousin about the impact Lee made in such a short period of time.
She was the presence in the room. Just even so physically, stature-wise, it was a tall person, so probably 6'2", maybe.
But it wasn't Amarey Lej's height that captured everyone's attention. It was her positive spirit.
Just a very vibrant light and a very joyful life. Always ready to create, always ready to dance, always ready to make up a dance.
Whether she was dancing with the Lady Diamonds team in Pittsburgh or working with the youth, Erin Perry says her cousin always brought out the best in people.
This reminder of be yourself, love who you are, shine your light, and you have the permission to do so.
Advice 19-year-old Amarey was truly going to live by in 2022.
She just had recently made the decision to transition herself and had just made the decision to really embrace who she's always known herself to be.
Even despite her troubling past, Perry says Amarey made headlines in 2017 after she was assaulted by a Woodland Hills High School resource officer. She was thrown against the wall and her teeth were knocked out. Perry says tragically she was attacked again. This time, police found Amarey shot to death on Wood Street in Wilkinsburg on New Year's morning.
It just was so challenging to receive the news because I didn't want to believe that it happened. Because this is a person that I know and love. And to just imagine their life gone and then the way that it happened is hard to accept.
Perry says, unlike other crimes involving Black transgender victims, she wants this one solved.
It's my hope that in our community that this will be a different scenario and that there will be answers and we will know who did this and that justice is served.
And while the investigation is ongoing, Perry says Amarey's legacy will live on.
I want for Amarey to know that her impact on this earth was so earth-shattering, earth-moving. Everywhere she went, the light was present in everybody.
Now, let me surprise you guys. The last person that was killed in the last transgender or non-binary, non-conforming person that was killed in the USA was Kenyama Stone. Kenyama Stone was killed on December 26th. That was the morning after Christmas. And she died on December 28th. That was the last person to be killed. And she marks the 51st person. I'm sure you guys might be shocked. I'll repeat that again. She marks the 51st person to be killed as a trans community member, trans non-conforming community member in USA alone. This is just one country. Out of 200 and something countries, just one country, she marks the 51st person to be killed. So it calls for concern for the trans community and the LGBTI community in general. What is really happening? Chimere, let me start with you. How can we salvage this situation? What is really happening? This is almost like a pandemic, a global emergency. What's going on? What's going on?
Oh, sorry, I was just trying to adjust my mic. It's indeed a very sad story. I remembered in 2020, before COVID hit, I actually went to the Trans Memorial, and when we went for Trans Memorial, I was shocked by the level of or the total amount of trans people that have died, not just killed, but those who also commit suicide. Most of our trans people and our trans community is really going through a lot. It is okay for lesbians and gay and bisexuals to go through, but the pain that the trans community is going through, acceptance number one, dealing with family pressure number two, dealing with homophobia. And when we talk about homophobia, it's not just slurs. When it comes to trans people, it is physical assault, it is physical threat, it is even a comedic thing people say. People say it so comedically, and they don't know these are the things that people are passing through. Like I earlier told you, I have a friend who is actually trans, and every time we have a conversation or from her voice, I can hear the sound of fear. And I don't think it is okay. In short, it is never okay. It is not normal for anybody to walk on the streets of free land, or the street of free country, on the street of liberty, with fear in their bones, with fear in their body. I feel instead of us having this conversation, having this memorial, just talking about it, I feel this year is the year of action. Let's begin to put some things in check. This is America, where records can be kept of people who have been killed, who are trans, who have committed suicide. Imagine developing countries like Nigeria. Where do we begin from? Places in Africa, where do we start from? The videos that we have shown, the stories we have told, the ones that the cameras could not capture, the horror they have to go through each and every day of their life. I feel this is a time our community needs to come together, just as PJ Marshall came out at a time when there was fear, when there was agony, and she did one thing that I admire. She brought the community together and they began to rally against such things.
Hey, what do you say? Pass the bill or you'll pay.
Why are you here today?
Darling, I want my gay rights now. I think it's about time the gay brothers and sisters got their rights. And especially the women.
How will this affect you and your job?
Darling, I don't have a job. I'm on welfare. I have no intention of getting a job as long as this country discriminates against homosexuals. There's only homosexuals, bisexuals, and trisexuals, darling. And there's no straight people. Because it is trying out women, honey.
We still have the same capacity. We still have the same power. Let us begin to speak. Let us begin to protect our own. Let us begin to defend. There are so many times I've gone to the club and you'll be seeing a trans person being beaten in the front of the club, and people will start there and record and video and say nothing and do nothing and turn a blind eye. Over to you, Mr. Chaffo.
I think it is very high time where a lot of people, trans community members, LGBTI community members, need to sit down in the drawing board or in the round table and talk about safety for LGBTI community members, trans mostly, trans stopping their gender, and also LGBTI community members in general. It is now almost becoming like a time where we are now fighting so hard just for survival, for peace of mind, and just waking up. It's almost as if being a community member, once you can go out in the morning and come back home and sleep at night, that is like a big testimony. This needs to be brought to the book and needs to be checked. Now, the first person is rather shocking that the first person that is dying from trans-related violence in USA, it's from gun violence, and the last person that died in USA is from gun violence too, which brings to call to the USA gun control again. There needs to be a high level of gun control, especially in the US, where it's not almost seeming like the Wild Wild West alone. Because I try not to be pushed to make that advice or that call that trans community members or LGBTI community members too should get guns and start defending themselves too. We do not want to step into the Wild Wild West area, but we also have to make sure that at least community members need to be safe in all angles, in all ramifications, in all ways possible, because this is very shocking, this is alarming, this is very, very shameful. We cannot continue to have these deaths. These deaths are really, really uncalled for. Even the deaths, the last person that died in USA, the last trans person who died, Stone, what's the first name again? Kenyama Stone, the last person that died, was even trying to separate a fight in a club. And yet, the people that were fighting, none of them died, but it was her trying to separate the fight that was shot in the head, and she was in life support for 2 days and died 2 days later. She was shot in December 26th, died December 28th. These are stories that we do not want to hear anymore. I think the biggest call is for the LGBTQI community members, the trans movement, and the rest of them to actually come to the drawing board and look for engaging ways where lives of community members can be secure. It's either we are confident in security agencies to be able to provide security, and if that route cannot work, it is maybe the route of self-defense and maybe moving into the Wild Wild West scenario for the LGBTI community, because we cannot continue to die. We are tired of these 51 cases last year alone for those the trans and the non-conforming community. We do not want a repeat of that this year, or even more than, because it's seeming like this year is almost becoming worse than that. We cannot end this show, but also celebrate one of our very own who died. We will not say our very own, not a community member, but an ally, a very, very strong ally, which is Desmond Tutu. Desmond Tutu was Archbishop, I think the first Black Archbishop of Cape Town, first Black Archbishop of Cape Town, a very, very strong man who moved against the apartheid government. He fought them to a standstill. He was good at speaking up for them. His sense of humor is very fantastic. He's a man too, but one of the biggest things that we celebrate Desmond Tutu for is the fact that he stood up for the LGBTQI community. He said that one of his popular quotes was that he would rather go to hell than go to an homophobic heaven, which he was very glad in and was very keen in supporting the LGBTQI community members. And he even showed it by even going to home when his daughter, that was a lesbian, was about to get married to a lesbian partner. He was one of the first people to give his blessings to her. He gave her his blessings, who utterly supported her. He will forever remember in our hearts. He's lived, or what is he lived, and he will be remembered because he's dead now, but he left behind his wife and his 4 children. May his soul rest in peace. Chimereze, what would you like to say about Desmond Tutu before we wrap up the show?
To be honest, I really didn't know Desmond Tutu, so there's nothing much to say, but I've heard the good testimonies that people have, heard. And like I always say, a good name is better than riches and gold. All these things vanish, but a name that is well lived, live forever. And to this point, we also want to remember others who had passed. We know Noble passed during the Christmas season. If you don't know Victor Noble is one of our own, or rather was one of our own. He was a model. He struggled. He'd make sure his craft was out there.
We'll talk about, just to remind people, we'll talk about community members too that passed away. We'll have like an episode just to talk about what is happening. That has to be like a full topic. But just mention.
So Victor Noble was there, he hustled. This community really didn't come out to show him, did not even support his craft. But the moment he passed on, everybody felt an obligation to post this picture and write RIP. I feel we need to start changing things, bad cultures. We need to start supporting our own. We need to start patronizing our own. We need to start standing by our own. That was the only way they were able to fight apartheid. That's the only way they were able to fight slavery. And this is the only way we can fight homophobia. The moment we forget to realize that we need to be together, we will never see the new dawn. If we want to see the new dawn, we need to encourage, support, and be with our own. That is it for me. Make sure you like, comment. Anybody that has gone on, please write your RIP. Remember their name, write their names. Let us read through the comments and know the people who has gone this year. We know their light is still shining somewhere in the universe.
Thank you very much. I think that's a fantastic way to end the show. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe. And you guys know we are the biggest LGBTQI news platform in the entire planet. We're not in Africa anymore. We say the entire planet. Please subscribe. Peace out.